I remember watching a interview with Louie Armstrong when he came over here, pre-war or during whatever, and he said he was in London and asked a police officer the time, and the police officer called him sir and gave him the time. So he spent the rest of the day walking around London looking for police officers to ask the time.
There's a new film on Netflix called The 688. Have you heard about it?
No.
And it's about the struggles of a group of black women.
I've seen a thumbnail and went, not watching that. Yeah.
Black women.
Looks like in the Air Force in America, and I can tell you the story. They win the war.
Well, yes. It's a true story, this one. Done by...
It's based on a true story.
Based on a true story. But whilst you think, is it the Air Force, what were these women doing or whatever, apparently all they were doing was sorting post.
Yeah.
So what happened was the post in Europe got delayed and wasn't reaching the guys at the front. So they sent over a group of black women to sort the post out and make sure it got that was it. That's the story.
Right.
But it's a story of nobility, strength, fighting against racism, all that sort of stuff, basically. So I actually put, again, I'm using ChatGPT a lot at the moment, so I put it in said, what's this woke film about? And ChatGPT took offence at this and said they had to face hardships being black women and what. So I challenged GBT on this and said, well, everybody faced hardships then. All women faced hardships. Everybody in Europe faced hardships. And this is the response from ChatGPT after quite a heated debate. It's fair to say that I leaned on historical patterns to provide context, and I appreciate your scrutiny. Whilst I aim to explain the challenges faced by the 6888th Battalion, it's important not to overstate or generalise beyond what is supported by historical evidence. They definitely faced obstacles tied to the broader concept of segregation and gender discrimination in the army. However, the specific experiences they encountered, such as inadequate resources, lack of recognition, and institutional prejudice, might indeed overlap with those faced by other groups, including white women and men of all races. So ChatGPT actually ended up agreeing with me that it's a load of bollocks.
Nearly everyone who's ever existed has been treated unfairly.
Yeah.
In fact, no. Everyone who's ever existed has been treated unfairly in some position.
Yeah.
It's just...
But this program is the most woke, crappy program ever because it's all about whatever. But in fact, it's just about a bunch of women who flew over to sort out some post. And they've made it into some sort of...
And who would have been treated better here than probably at home.
Correct.
Because there was no racial discrimination in this country during the Second World War.
Yeah.
There's lots of records of how black soldiers writing home saying how amazing they've been treated here because we had no racism here.
Yeah.
So, Louie Armstrong, I remember watching a interview with Louie Armstrong when he came over here, pre-war or during whatever, and he said he was in London and asked a police officer the time. And the police officer called him sir and gave him the time. So he spent the rest of the day walking around London looking for police officers to ask the time. Because he said
he'd never been treated that way.
He'd never been treated like that and been called sir by a police officer and smile and treated just as everybody else was treated.
Yeah.
And he spent the rest of the day walking around London asking the time of police officers.
That's a great story.
So that's how those women would have been treated over here.
Yeah.
A lot better than they would have been treated at home.
Yeah. But the thing is, they've had to make a film because presumably they haven't found a battalion of black soldiers who went and won the war independently. So the only one they could find was one about a bunch of black women sorting post out.
Yeah.
And they've made it into some sort of... They basically won the war for us by getting the post sorted.
And I'm sure it's a nice story, and I'm sure they should have made a film about it. But I've not watched it, so I'm only guessing that they wokeified the story.
Yes.
Now, those women coming over here sorting post out for soldiers on the front line, extremely important. They're not firing the guns, but unless we keep the morale of our soldiers up by getting letters from home, how are they going to fight? It's a tiny cog in a big wheel. If you break that tiny cog, nothing works. They did important work during the Second World War. Absolutely, I take nothing away from that. They're mini heroes as well for doing it, leaving their homeland as well to come here to sort the post. Fantastic, lovely women. I'm glad they did it. But it's all the extra crap on this film they will add on to it That's what annoys me. Not those women who did a good job protecting their country and doing what they could do as women. They deserve respect for that. But it's the extra bollocks Hollywood puts on it that annoys us.
But I also don't think it's that important. I think, in fact, I think if I was fighting on the front line, I'd prefer to get my letters at the end in a nice bunch tied with a piece of string.
No, you wouldn't. Because that's what keeps you going.
But I might read a letter and it might get me sad.
Everybody...
I want to focus on the fighting, Nick.
Yeah. No, you wouldn't. You'd be dead. You'd be one of the first that you're too tall that they'd picked you off.
We've heard your stories of Curry's. That time there was a brief riot and you headed for the back exit at high speed.
Everybody who was involved in the war effort played an important part. The women on the farms, they all played a really important
part. And they all faced obstacles.
Exactly.
All the women had the normal prejudices against women at that time.
Yeah. But also all the benefits they had those times as well, such as retirement age.